Hey, thanks so much, Holly. My name is Adam Conrad. I'm the founder and CXO of Great Recruiters. And, I'm excited here to talk with our friends over at Bartech. Bartech has really been an innovator in the space as it relates to, their focus on experience management and ensuring that recruiters are providing the best experience that they can possible. And just really excited to talk to them and unpack what 6 years on Great Recruiters has looked like for them, how it's impacted their business, not just as a business, but down to the recruiter level, as well as we're going to hear from one of their candidates on what that experience felt like for him. What I'm going to do is let me just go here, hit speaker view, and so as I mentioned, Great Recruiters, we are an experience management platform, brand reputation. Our goal is to help staffing firms maximize the ROI of their two biggest investment. It's their people and their brand. And joined with me today, as I mentioned, is Susan Dutcher, who is the senior recruiting director for Bartech. We have Amy Orndorff, who is a highly rated recruiter over there at Bartech. And we have Logan Steiner, who is with us, who is one of the successful placements that Bartech has made. And just to kick us off, Susan, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how'd you get into this industry, the staffing industry?
Thanks for having us, Adam, and for sure I can share my story. So I learned about the staffing industry because someone called me about an internship opportunity. It wasn't something I knew existed at all at that time, but I was hooked. I worked at a co-op job with an IT staffing agency, and then I was convinced that I had to find my way to find someone that would hire me into a full-time recruiting capacity. So I was a recruiter for many years. I have been a manager for many years, and I've been a director now for 3 years. So 18 years in total. I would say I grew up in corporate finance staffing, and then I made the switch. I'm unique in that I made the switch from corporate to agency again, and I love it. We're definitely a unique agency, which we'll talk about down the road. But I've been with Bartech now for 9 years. And then just a little bit about me. I've been married for 20 years. I have two amazing young daughters, and that's all about me.
Awesome. And we're going to unpack a lot of what your experience has been at Bartech. Turn it over. Amy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you fall into this world of recruiting? Because as most, we did not grow up thinking we were going to be in the recruitment industry. So would love to hear how you got into this awesome industry.
Yes, thank you, Adam. So I've been with Bartech for going on 2 years now as a technical recruiter. I've been recruiting for 15 years total. I actually knew nothing about recruiting, never thought I would get into recruiting before, but I had a friend that had reached out to me and said, hey, we're looking for someone to do some filing and data entry in our office, and it was a staffing firm. I said, yeah, I'll do that. I'm kind of in between. I don't know what I want to do yet. So I started filing. 3 months later, I was hired on full time as a recruiter and absolutely loved it. I enjoy helping people, and I just got a lot of enjoyment out of it. So a little bit about me on the personal side. I am married 8 years. We have some fur babies, a dog and a cat. And I am a huge Harry Potter fan, video games, and a huge DIYer. So that's a little bit about me.
And I'll add a little bit more. Amy has over 50 reviews on Great Recruiters with an exceptional rating of 4.7 stars and 100% recommendation rate. So we'll unpack that a little bit more and what that means to you and what it means for your candidates like Logan. But let's turn it over to Logan. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Logan. We appreciate you joining. All of this is for you. The goal of experience management and creating great candidate experiences to make sure folks like you have that exceptional experience. But would love for you to tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, hi, I'm glad to be here, glad to give my time here because this meant a lot to me. So as a person finding a job, or not finding the job, but like getting placed into the job, this and having such a great experience with it, it just meant a lot. So it's worth my time to come in to kind of give back to that. So yeah, about me, I've been a technical writer for about 7 years now. Longer jobs, about 2 years was my maximum job. So I've been in and out of jobs a lot. And so having somebody like a recruiter reach out to help me has been fantastic in this experience. So I've been placed in this job for about 2 months now, and it's been a perfect fit. So I've been happy since. So happy to be here. A little bit about me on the personal side. Living a small, simple life out here in the country. Got a border collie as a pet, and love the great outdoors. So that's about it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, just to set the expectation and set the stage for everybody, a lot of companies talk about wanting to create a great experience. A lot of companies say that they provide the best experience. And I think for organizations like Bartech, they've gone well beyond just saying those words on their website and in their dialogue. They've implemented Great Recruiters platform in order to help them ensure the quality and to ensure what they're promising their candidates and their clients is happening every single day. And as I mentioned, Bartech, what I love is when Great Recruiters launched, we started with a simple mission of helping to get real-time feedback from candidates on recruiters. And that's really the origin of where we started as an organization, and have evolved much beyond that to a full experience management and brand promotion platform, helping them collect feedback, not just on their candidates, but from their clients throughout the process. And really, it's like having somebody always on measuring that experience to make sure that you're doing what you say. And I think for me, the fact that Bartech, and we'll unpack this a little bit with Susan, was they had the idea. We didn't create a great experience for Bartech. It wasn't Great Recruiters who came in and said, "Oh, this is going to change your business." We overlaid what they already had in plan, and we're going to talk a little bit about how that has helped them really in 4 key ways. One is how do you measure and manage the experience through innovation and technology? What does it mean to not just say you're going to create an exceptional experience, but what does that actually look like for recruiters, for the organization, for the candidates? How does this help build trust? We know one of the biggest issues out there, and we'll probably hear from Logan a little bit, is not all recruiters can be trusted. And so what does it mean when you find an organization that really empowers their recruiters to collect feedback, ensure they're doing a great job? And how does that impact the candidate and client community for trusting this organization more? And really, how does it help with continuing the relationship? We're going to start off with Miss Susan Dutcher. As I mentioned, Susan is the Director of Recruiting for Bartech. And Susan, can you just provide a little background where you guys were at as an organization? What were the needs that you were looking to fill, and how has Great Recruiters kind of helped you along that journey over the last, 6 years?
For sure. So as Adam mentioned, Bartech has always been invested in providing a great experience, both to our internal employees, our candidates, and our clients. And above and beyond, we have an employee experience center as well, and that's been in place prior to Great Recruiters. So it's been a priority for Bartech as an organization for sure for many years. We've been focused as an organization on both innovation and continuous improvement for our candidate experience. And again, that's been going on for years. So at the time when we started to look into Great Recruiters, we were hiring at the moment and looking at the public view of Bartech. And the more we looked at it, we realized that our public view of Bartech didn't really show the full picture of our team's capability. It was like looking at all of our team's work, all the people that they helped, through a straw, if you can imagine, a very narrow focus. And not everyone was aware of the great story that we had to tell. We needed a way to share all of the great things that we knew our team was doing for the candidates and for our clients. And public reviews don't really give that full picture of all of the support and all of the work that our team was doing in order to create this great experience, both for our candidates and clients. So once we learned more about Great Recruiters, we realized this could be a vehicle that can help share our story, both as a team here at Bartech, and then also for each individual recruiter to be able to share their story and help them to build credibility, which ultimately then helps them stand out with prospective candidates in a challenging marketplace.
And I think what you said is what a lot of, I think there's a lot of great stuff that is happening in this industry, but if you don't have a way to collect that feedback on a real-time basis, you're really missing out on a lot of opportunity. And I think beginning with the end in mind, what you said was, if you just leave it to chance and you just wait for people to provide you feedback, unfortunately, human nature, we like to share the negative experiences more than the positive. And so if you just leave it to chance, what happens is, and there might be firms listening now that don't have a great online reputation and they don't have a way to collect that feedback. And I think with using Great Recruiters, getting that real-time feedback, not only brings it in, I want to talk about how that impacts you operationally, but it also has helped to improve that online reputation. If you just leave it to chance, more than not, it's going to be the people who had a poor experience that are going to share it, which really does not represent, as you mentioned, the full experience people are having. So can you talk a little bit about how Great Recruiters is used within Bartech and how it helps you as an organization ensure that quality of experience that your recruiters are providing? How does it help you with training and development and motivation of your recruitment teams? Can you unpack that a little bit, Susan?
Yes, for sure. So I'll start with the recruiters first. So when we were first looking at it, we needed a way for our recruiters to be able to prove how great their candidate service is and to stand out. Again, saturated market, the candidates that we're reaching out to, other agents, they're in demand, right? Other agencies are looking to at the same talent pool as well. So we needed something that could help our recruiters promote, again, how amazing they are and all of the great work that they were doing for their candidates, like advocating for them, placing them in rewarding roles with our clients that candidate may not have heard of otherwise. We do have access to opportunities that come to us directly from our clients that are not broadcast everywhere. So helping them additionally, like prepping their resume, helping them with getting ready for interviews. So fast forward to now, we have a platform that the team can use to show all of the amazing work that they do for their people. And then this helps each individual recruiter build the credibility and trust that they need in the market today. And this is a major differentiator for us now. Additionally, it gives us the opportunity, and each recruiter the opportunity, especially when they start out, it's a huge motivator because you get access to all of that other, all of the other like niceties of Great Recruiters, like having your own customized website once you reach a certain threshold of service to your candidates and ratings, which has been very helpful for us as well. It's a very useful tool in that regard, highlighting that, again, the great work that the recruiters were already doing for the candidates. And doing that has in turn then empowered us and given us a unique ability to build this unique talent pool, because we're not like every other agency. Like, we really do truly care about all of our people. We're monitoring, we're measuring, like everyone on our team gets like an individual email every time a review comes through. Our managers are copied on all of those emails. It's another thing that we do almost on a daily basis, like to recognize the recruiters who get these great reviews and call them out, share those with the team. So it's helped us in many ways.
Yeah, and so just with Bartech, Bullhorn customer, Great Recruiters is integrated at key moments of that candidate journey, and through our integration automation, just to provide some clarity for folks, is that candidates are automatically solicited for feedback, right? It's the quality assurance piece of this to help ensure that the experience that folks like Amy say, hey, I'm going to do this for you. It's a checks and balance to make sure that they're doing the work. And, one of the things I want to talk about is we're all human, right? Nothing in this world is perfect. Even the best people have a bad day and miss things, and needs of candidates change. And one person might want to be called every day, another person wants to be called every week. And so there are times you get negative feedback. And I know when we were talking about this, it's about embracing that. And so what is the negative feedback? People are afraid of it, right? They're like, I just want all 5 stars. And that's just not the reality. But what has been the impact of having a system like Great Recruiters in place that's going to make you aware when those negative experiences exist in the moment that they exist? How has that helped you, and how do you help manage that from a relationship standpoint with that candidate?
That's a great question, Adam, and I would say it's helped us tremendously. So with the Great Recruiters platform, our teams are empowered, right? We solicit this real-time feedback. It's automated now, so we're asking for feedback from everyone that we encounter in terms of our recruiting process. So we can definitely manage that experience better now on the other side, now that we have it implemented and we have, for 6 years now. We can really zero in on both like the candidate and client experience. And the platform actually has a breakdown of, where you are on each area for the entire team. And then also that same same methodology is applied to the individual recruiter leaderboard as well. So we have the visibility to assess where we need to make continuous improvements at the individual level, and then also at the organization-wide level, so that we can continue again to make the process better, which then ultimately helps us continue to improve and build upon that unique talent pool that I mentioned earlier. And with the negative side of things, so when we get a negative review, we get alerted in 2 different ways. So we get alerted in the Great Recruiters platform, and then the manager and the recruiter are also alerted. So our process is the manager and recruiter would talk about it. We try to get a better understanding of, like, was there a misunderstanding? Was there, something that, maybe we could have done differently? Or, was the individual just having a bad day and they're frustrated with their job search? Like,
Right.
A lot of times we uncover that sometimes that is the case. So we talk about those things. We have the recruiter and or the manager help to try to resolve those as those situations come up, to make things right to the best of our ability. And again, just I would say the biggest improvement that we've seen from having this being a measurable item for us is that we're able to continuously improve and build our unique talent pool. We're getting referrals when we do a good job. And that ultimately, then the result is that, we're providing these great jobs again for the great people and the great talent that we have.
Yeah. And I want to make a point on that is, when you have a negative experience and you just share it out there, and let's say you just provide a Google review, you have no frame of reference of where it's coming from, and you're just waiting for it. And this is a way that when that negative feedback happens, you're made immediately aware, which helps you from a coaching and development perspective. It helps you as managers having better conversations, but it also puts you in control of being able to resolve those issues before they become problems. And I'm just curious, as you've followed up with candidates, I imagine over the years that had a negative experience, what is their take when you call up and you say, "Hey, we heard you had a negative experience. That's not what we wanted to create." What is their response to that?
That's a really good question too, Adam. So I would say the majority of the time, the response is that they're feeling a certain way when they fill it out. They're usually like something has upset them, or maybe like they didn't get the job, or maybe they didn't get a call back as quickly as they thought they should in this situation. That's what we hear most of the time. And I would say the former is probably more common, but we're typically able to work through those situations, like whether, you know, what that person's input is then too would be important. Like, do they, you know, want to continue the relationship? Do they want to look at another opportunity? Do they want to look at a different client? So it gives us that, you know, I guess it gives them a voice too, to say like, okay, this, whatever was happening at that moment wasn't working for them. And then it gives us a chance then to make it right and kind of have that dialogue with the
Yeah.
person. Not like a one size fits all per se.
Yeah. And can you imagine, you know, I know there's companies out there that do end of year surveys, right? They'll do an end of year survey. They'll focus on just the people they place, which, let's face it, that only represents probably maybe 2 to 5% of the people that are actually interacting with your brand. And I think it's important to know that this isn't just about the people that you place. It's about the people that go through your process. And so you're getting better data, more information for more points. And could you imagine if you were playing sports and in the middle of halftime, the coach says, you know, we're going to wait till the end of the season to provide you any feedback on how you're doing, right? How do you make course corrections? It's just not the world we're in. And so having that ability, it's like being on every phone call, of having every opportunity to resolve issues right now. And I love what you said is that, yeah, we experience that. Most candidates, they just want to be heard, you know, and I think the value is that you ask, you listen, and you respond. Like that's the value of it. And I think when people had a negative experience and somebody follows up, tries to make it better, they're left with a much better feeling about that brand. Had you never asked, that negative experience might become a review on some other site that you have no control over. You might not even know who provided it. So kudos to you guys for implementing that. So many more things that I want to unpack with you, Susan. But just final thoughts as we transition, because I want to hear from the recruiter themselves, right? I think from a management, it gives you oversight, stack ranks your recruiters, you get great insight into how all your recruiters are performing. You can course correct, train and development. We have the profiles to help them introduce themselves, not through their voice, but through the other candidates. But overall, what do you think the biggest impact having great recruiters has had on Bartech and your success?
Ooh, that's a great question because it's I'd say it's been impactful on, you know, many levels. I would say the biggest impact is it's empowered us and our individual recruiters to be able to build this unique talent pool again, because people are trusting us. Our recruiters are building that trust and the credibility. They're promoting it to our candidate base in our industry. And ultimately, what all of those activities are doing is leading us to be empowered to provide, again, great opportunities and great jobs for great people that we're working with.
It's awesome. Awesome. Well, Susan, thank you so much for sharing your perspective on this. And I want to switch gears over to Amy. Amy, I'm going to brag about you again. You've been doing a great job. I mean, your reviews are glowing. Not all 5 stars, and we know that's not reality, but I'm just curious because, you know, it's one thing to say, hey, we're going to have this management tool in place. And oh, by the way, Amy, you're going to get measured on the experience. That can be a little intimidating. And I'm just curious, can you kind of talk through your experience on the platform from when you first started to kind of where you are now and what it means to you to be on the platform?
Yeah, so honestly, I've never had an opportunity to work with recruiters or any kind of platform like this before in the past. So this was new to me when I came to Bartech. It has really been a great asset. I feel like as far as helping me improve my recruiting and candidate engagement process, it's definitely keeps me updated on what I'm doing that's had a positive impact when helping someone. And, you know, there's always going to be room for improvement. So there's that on there as well. So it's nice to be able to see it in real time and know, hey, I'm doing this and it's helping, or, you know, I could do better at this. So it's definitely been a good platform for me as a recruiter to look at it and know what I can do to make the experience with candidates even better. So that's, yeah.
And when you have that in place and you know that any interaction that you have, somebody has the opportunity to provide feedback, um, how does that change the way you approach your job on a daily basis?
Honestly, it doesn't change anything because I've always been the same with recruiting. I mean, I've been doing it for 15 years, so I enjoy helping people, and I'm the same whether it's a engineer that I'm helping or if it's someone in customer service. So I'm totally the same across the board. So I would encourage people to leave more reviews, and it kind of gets our name out there a little bit more to have candidates trust us. That's the whole thing. There's so many things out there with recruiters that we get a bad name. And, this is definitely something that people can see in real time. These are real people leaving real reviews on here. So I feel that it makes them a little more confident in us when they see us having good reviews.
Certainly. I mean, and candidates out there that are listening, I mean, you have a lot of choices. There's not a shortage of recruiters that are in the market, but I imagine that many of you have had not great experiences because unfortunately, the industry is a low barrier to entry. Anybody with a business card could start a recruiting firm. And so really, there's recruiters and there's staffing firms, and then there's great recruiters. And for me, the great recruiters are the ones like Amy who are open to that feedback. They embrace the fact I'm not perfect, but my goal is to ensure a great outcome for everybody. And sometimes that outcome is not finding them a job today. And so I'm just curious, what is the response that you get from candidates that they had a great experience, you did everything you could, but they didn't have a job? Do you find them providing negative feedback because of that job outcome, or are they really focused on the experience that you drove for them as a candidate?
Definitely the experience. I've come across a lot of candidates that we haven't had a job right then and there for them, but staying in contact with them, updating them throughout everything. We never know when we're going to get a different position in that meets their skill set. So I think it's more about the experience, and even if you don't have something for them right then and there, the communication, let alone, and the transparency is key. They appreciate that more than not being able to find them something right then and there.
Right. And what expectation should a candidate have when working with you?
With me, so they're definitely going to get transparency with me. I like to be very open and honest about everything with our positions. Communication, you're going to get clear and timely updates with me, even if it's just to say, hey, I don't have any updates right now. There's nothing worse than, going through the week and not knowing where you are, if your recruiters ghosted you or not. So just shooting them a text message and saying, hey, I don't have any updates just yet, but I'll keep you posted as soon as I do. And relationships. My approach to recruitment is more relationship based rather than transactional. So I truly want to understand, what they're looking for as far as career goals, their personal values, so that I can help them in finding, their next, opportunity.
Yeah. And I'm going to share, do a little more bragging for you. I'm going to share your recruiter profile here real quick. And can you guys see the recruiter profile here? So if you see this is what Amy uses when she's introducing herself to new candidates. And I wanted you to talk about that a little bit, because this is the public facing of it. You mentioned, I heard transparency, I heard trust, recruiters have bad experience. A lot of times when they get a phone call, they get an email, they don't know who's on the other line. And so through this, Amy's able to share, here's what people think about working with me, right? Here's the reviews that people have left me and what they say. And I'm just curious for you, Amy, as you share this with your prospective candidates, as you're engaging with them, what is the response back that you get?
I mean, they're only human, so I'm myself. I'm open and honest with them about everything, and it just makes them more comfortable in having a conversation with you, asking those hard questions, about the position. So, I mean, I think that just, being open and honest with them makes them feel more comfortable. And I'm kind of speechless. I didn't know I had that great of reviews. No,
Oh,
no,
geez,
but
that's great.
no, but I just think that the open and honest part of things, and just, I'm human, they're human, just, you're just having a conversation with them and getting to know them, what they're looking for in a position. And, and that leads to relationships. And, like we said earlier, if we don't have something for you right now, we might down the road. And, I'm happy that I've made an impact on, so many people's experiences with me. That's really
Right.
great to hear.
And talk about the expanding your talent pool, expanding your relationships, having this in place and having this profile, the referral process that is part of the review. How has Great Recruiters helped you gain deeper access into the talent pools of the folks that you're able to help?
Yes, so it's not only has boosted me and Bartech's reputation, but I think seeing positive feedback from others increases a candidate's confidence in us, which has led to more callbacks and referrals on there. So it shows candidates that we value their opinions, encouraging them to engage more and hopefully recommend us to others.
Awesome. And just to just wrap, as you're talking to those engineers out there, I mean, what would you want them, every engineer out there to know about you?
So, well, like I said earlier, they're going to get transparency with me, communication, and relationships. That's the top three things that they're going to get from me. So
It's awesome. And you're not saying I'm going to promise you a job, because many times candidates are hearing this, I'm going to find you the best job. And candidates out there, if any recruiter is telling you that, that to me is a red flag. Not
right,
every recruiter has access to every job. Not every job that they have is the right fit for you for a variety of reasons. It could be timing, it could be location, it could be job function. But think about the recruiters you're working with. Are they following up with you? Are they transparent? Are they looking to build a relationship? Because some of the most successful people that I placed in my career weren't people I placed the day I talked to them. They were people that I maintained relationships with. There are people that I might have sent over to the competition. Maybe one day I sent somebody at Bartech, said, hey, they might have a better opportunity for you today. It's about adding that value. So when you're working with a recruiter, don't lower your expectations based on where the industry says we're at. Raise the bar of what your expectations are, because there's a lot of recruiters out there like Amy using Great Recruiters that want to ensure that quality of experience. You want a recruiter for life, right? When it hits the fan and you don't know which direction to go, you want somebody like Amy that you can call and trust. And she might not have the right job, but I can guarantee she's going to help provide value to you so you can help find that next opportunity. So, Amy, I really appreciate you sharing your experience here. And I'm excited here because I haven't had the chance to interview a candidate before who really all of this is built for. So, Logan, as we introduce you here, I'm fired up to have you on. All of this was designed to help ensure that you get a great experience. And I know when we were doing a little bit of prep, you've worked with a lot of different staffing firms. And I'd like to just start off let's start with your experience prior to Bartech. What did that feel like for you as a candidate in the market?
So thanks again for having me on here. But so prior to having my experience with Amy and this awesome program that we have here, it's been pretty tough, I'll be honest. I mean, yes, having any form of recruiter is better than doing everything yourself. So like there have been times in my life where I've been posting to 400 different job applications and trying to get my job on my own, and it is a nightmare. But then you get into those situations where, okay, your resume is out there and you have all these recruiting agencies reaching out to you because they have your resume and they're just trying to fill a position, like to get whatever they can get out of it. And it's a nightmare in that case too, because you get spam emails from people who don't really care who you are. They see that you have some kind of experience in some kind of job that's not really your field that you're looking for, but it could be aligned. And all the spam and everything is like, this is just feels kind of hopeless. It feels more annoying to have somebody that's like, hey, we're trying to help you, but like in the end of the day, they're just kind of helping themselves, you know, and it just feels shallow. And as Amy said, transactional. It's like you're only helping me to help yourself. And
Right.
it's yeah, I'd rather be doing things myself at that point then, you know, I'd rather be posting to Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Glassdoor, doing it all by myself at that point. So
Right.
this is a great opportunity for me to share my experience with something that was
Yeah.
very different than that.
Those recruiters who are just kind of fly by night recruiters, transactional, they're looking at their own agenda. I want to make a placement, make a buck. Do you remember any of their names?
I do, but for bad reasons. So it's like I don't
Would you
remember.
recommend any of your friends to them?
No, it's so I don't remember individual names from the people who were recruiters for me, but I remember the experiences that I've had because I've gone through, I think, 3 recruiting agencies. Because again, when somebody reaches out with a job, it's sometimes you take it just to get the job. Bills need
Yeah.
paid. So it's like, hey, if they have a job that I might be able to go through, like I'll take anything I can like sink my teeth in, right? And
Right.
yeah, it's yeah. I remember it from bad reasons.
Well, that's all right. And so let's flash forward. Obviously, your experience with Bartech and working with Amy was different. Can you talk about the night and day experience that you had when you got engaged with Amy and started working with her?
Yeah. So for me, it was actually one of the first things that kind of was night and day for me was the fact that I had all of my information pretty much offline. I was wrapping up a contracted position and I hadn't started really recruiting or not recruiting, but looking for a new position yet. And out of nowhere, I get this like friendly note email where yeah, I think it was an email and it's like, hey, I have a position that you might be curious about. Like it was very like it didn't seem like the rest of the emails. It was more personal. And I was like, you know what? Like it really does seem like a good fit for me. So I was curious. Let me check it out. It was in my area. So I didn't have to worry about it being like across the world or across the country or something. And it, you know, like I said, all of the job descriptions lined up with everything that I had for skill set. It wasn't something that was off on a tangent. And so I took some time, I looked at it, I was like, this is a great start. Like let's get started looking at this. And sure, I'm interested in this position. And timing wise, I was like, I didn't even have to like go out of my way to start applying for jobs yet.
Right.
So it was like it fell in my lap. Kind of like as some people say, the universe works in mysterious ways. It was like this was kind of perfect timing for me. So for the positive experience starting off, that was like great timing wise.
So then you get on the call with her, and how did that feel different? I know you were sharing some of the difference with me as we were kind of prepping for this, but what was the difference that you felt in that conversation that you weren't getting with the other recruiters you were working with?
No, first off, some recruiting agencies don't even give you a screening call, right? So it's like not even a call to say like, hey, are you even going to be a good position or a good fit for this position that we have?
Yeah.
And so that was obviously a positive. But then it was like, yeah, kind of a building up of a relationship and the communication, and wanting to make sure that I was having a positive experience with this. Like, note it was never explicitly stated, but like you could tell from just questions asked and the personality that was there behind the call that it was like, I really do think that this would be a good fit for you, and I really hope that we can get you this job. So and that was different for me. Most calls are like, all right, do you have XYZ? This job requires XYZ. Do you have that? No? Okay, have a great day. Bye. You know, it's very quick. Those calls go for like 2 minutes. I think ours was like a half hour first off, and it was just,
Yeah.
it was great.
Tough to get to know somebody in 2 minutes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But
Um,
some people don't really want to get to know their candidates. So that's another thing is like, they're just there to make the buck, right?
and we can tie that back. Like, what is the value of that relationship for you now that you've built that? When your friends are looking, where are you going to point them to?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Right.
Like if I had friends that were looking for positions right now, I mean, yeah.
Right. Right. Let me ask you this. When you got the review and you received that review request from Amy, were you surprised by it?
So I actually got the review, I want to say early on in the process.
Yeah.
And for me, this was completely new. I've never had to review anybody, and I've never really thought about reviewing a recruiting agency. I mean, previous recruiting agencies, I'll be honest, I take the high road. I don't leave a review because I don't want to spread the negativity, but if they have a negative experience, I'm like, you know what? Just wasn't for me. I'm not going to bash on them. I'm just going to leave it under the bridge, like water under the bridge, and just keep moving forward with it. That's just me. But for this one, yeah, I got that first email saying like, hey, do you want to leave a review for Amy? And I'm like, already, but like the process isn't even done yet. So like I put it on the back burner, but I left it like starred in my inbox. Like I want to get back to this, but like I want to see how this goes first. I
Yeah.
knew from just, you know, the amount of communication, the amount of effort that was put into finding and like doing this whole process with me, that I knew at the end, even if I didn't get the position, I was going to leave a review, a positive review, because this was so different than any other recruiting agency. So I just held on to it. I didn't know that I was supposed to fill it out there and then. Like as discussed from Susan and Amy, it seems like there was kind of like you want to get feedback as much as possible. But for me, it's just I wanted to wait to see the ending of it.
Yeah, and for some people, I think you want to. For some people, it's enough, and you want to measure that experience. But I think it wasn't asked just because you got placed. Like they didn't know
Mhm.
what the outcome was going to be, and so they're putting themselves out there. And I love what you said. It's like I knew I was going to provide a positive review because of that experience, and you were aware of it. But what did that tell you about their organization? The fact that they said, here's an open door. Give us the feedback. How did that make you feel about them?
It made me feel a sense of confidence in the company. You know, it's like not like, hey, we're transactional. We're just gonna try to get you the job. If we don't get you the job, it doesn't matter. Like, what are we like? You're just the candidate, you know. Like, so what do we have to fear about you going on like Google and leaving a nasty review? Doesn't matter. Or on, I mean, many recruiting agencies actually use like Indeed or Glassdoor, and you can see those job listings, and you can see the custom like the reviews and the ratings on there, and you can see that some recruiting agencies are down to like 2.7, 3.0 out of 5 stars. And it's like, there's a reasoning why those are so low then, you know, and people can go back and read that. But
Right.
for this, it was reaching out and asking for that review was like, hey, we genuinely care what you think, you know, like,
Yeah.
please go through. And it was a thorough review too. It wasn't just, hey, give us, you know, 5 stars or one star, whatever, and then
Right.
call it a day, like an Amazon review, you know. It was asking questions, getting eliciting feedback from me that was very thorough. So
Based on as well, I'm looking at the time because I want to get to some Q&A because I know there's some questions that are popping up. What advice would you give candidates out there now that you kind of had both types of experience, the night and day, right? One that felt very transactional, didn't really care about you as an individual, to what you experienced with Bartech. What advice would you give candidates out there that are working with recruiters?
I mean, so it's a tough question, right? It depends how, like, it's a very tough question because like what I did, what this was this was pampering. This was very nice for me. I really enjoyed this. But to be completely honest, if you're desperate for a job from something, sometimes you do have to bite at whatever comes your way, you know, and you have to kind of suffer through those. But in these cases, if you can go with the best, go with the best. You know, it feels great. You get a positive candidate experience from that, and like you leave reviews and you come to webinars that you didn't think you would be coming to, right? So it's
Who would
obviously
have
there's
thought the beginning of your journey with Bartech would come to this day of sitting
we
here talking to
here.
me? But I love it, and I think you're right. I always go on the urgency. Your expectations as a candidate's going to change based on the urgency that you need a job. Look, if I need a job today and I have bills to pay and everything, you're willing to put up with a lot of stuff that normally you wouldn't because you have the hopes that it's going to get a job. Uh, you know, but there's still an opportunity to find a recruiter that can help you with that job, that is going to be there, that is going to provide that advice and guidance, that is going to help hold your hand, because it's a tough situation to be in. So I would say don't settle just for any recruiter. Do your work and do your homework to find one. that is going to help you, and just know what you're getting into, right? If the conversation feels transactional in the beginning, just know that's the experience that you're going to get, and they're probably not going to be there after the opportunity goes away.
No.
Whereas somebody like Bartech and Amy are going to be there not just for today, but for your next assignment and your next assignment. But for those passive job seekers, you know, what I would recommend is go find a recruiter. So when you are looking for an opportunity, you have somebody that you can talk to, that you can trust, that you already have a relationship with, and you're not starting from what Logan had described, applying to a bunch of jobs, not getting any callbacks, and getting very short 2-minute conversations. Are you a fit for what I need today? No, goodbye. It's very short-sighted, I think, for the organizations that do that, because as Susan mentioned, there's no way to build a talent pool, right? There's no way to help build that talent pool for them for future opportunities, because it's like you're starting all over again. But Logan, I really appreciate you jumping on, man, and sharing. I know you are taking time out of your day as well, so really appreciate you sharing that. I mean, for me, Great Recruiters was built for you. If you didn't have the type of positive outcome that you had with Bartech, then we wouldn't be doing justice for you. And this was really built for candidates to help be able to identify when there is a recruiter that they can trust. But hey, Holly, going to turn it back over to you. Logan, thanks so much for jumping on. We've got about 10 minutes left for some quick Q&A. Holly, what do we got here?
All right, thank you, Adam. That was a great conversation. We do have a few questions that have come in. So first up is for Amy. How many candidates should a recruiter handle and still be able to keep consistent and stay in touch with? Is there a benchmark you would recommend candidates seek?
That's a good question. I really wouldn't put a number on it. I feel like, you know your limits, you know what you can handle and what you can't. So I would just kind of gauge it to, what you're most comfortable with. I set up a lot of messages to go out to my candidates. I keep a very detailed spreadsheet that I have all of my candidates on, what jobs that they're interested in and what their skill sets are and everything, so that I can give them the best experience possible with jobs coming out and things like that. So I would just kind of use your own judgment and what you feel you're most comfortable with in handling. I've had, with recruiting, it has its ebbs and flows. We go through periods where it's really slow and then it picks up. So I would just kind of gauge whatever you feel most comfortable with. There's no right or wrong, number, I would say.
Yeah. And in my experience as a recruiter managing as well, I think we can only manage so many relationships at once, right? And a lot of times, like, our job is to find the right candidates for the positions that our clients have available today. How we go about that is our decision. Do we want to be highly transactional, churn and burn, going through candidates like Kleenex? Or do we want to be a little bit more long-term focused, where we're taking the time, like Amy does, to have that upfront intake? And that upfront intake is really important. And when the recruiter does that, they're getting your information, because it may not be the right opportunity today. But as somebody like Amy and myself, who've been in recruiting for a very, very, very long time, you end up talking to thousands upon thousands of candidates. And so if this is a recruiter asking, what I say is have a system in place that allows you to help nurture those individuals, whether it's setting up tasks to send out messages, whether it's using an automation platform for candidate nurturing. Be transparent on it, though. Hey, I don't have anything, but I'm going to check in every 90 days with you and just let you know I'm still around and here are my opportunities. But by all means, if your situation changes, pick up the phone and call me as well. So I think the one-on-one ability to maintain the relationship, just as you continue to grow that network, becomes difficult one-on-one, but we want to still provide that lifeline that we're still there for you. We're still thinking about you. But that would be my recommendation, is to have a system in place that helps you manage, maintain, nurture those relationships, because the longer you're in this business, the less you need to depend on job applicants and candidate databases, you have your talent pool that you can tap into, right? And start calling for referrals. And because they trust you as a recruiter, they're going to be willing to help.
Excellent. We have another question that came in. At what point in the process is Bartech sending the review to talent? Is it after the interview, after the client submission, after placement, like we talked about? Susan, this one might be best for you.
I can take this one. So we send the review out after that first conversation when the recruiters are getting ready to present the candidate to a client. So we start very early in the process. And again, it's not mandatory that, like in Logan's example, he felt more comfortable filling it out at the point after placement, which is also okay. But we do start it earlier in the process just so that we can also gauge how we're doing in the earlier parts of the process too.
Do you find you get more feedback, or does it matter? Do you find the candidates are more likely to fill it out, after placement, or are they still just as likely to fill it out before?
In my opinion, I think they're just as likely to fill it out before. Now that we've had the automation in place, it does seem like the volume of reviews has been fairly steady. So I'm sure it depends on each individual's personal preference, but we do get a very good volume of reviews now that we have the automation in place.
And in perspective, they're getting feedback on more than 1 out of 3 candidates they work with. Think about that. They have amassed over 10,600 reviews. They are asking, and I love what Logan said, ask early because you'll always have the opportunity for them to provide the feedback. If you wait to the end, your funnel's just going to get smaller and smaller. And so you're decreasing the opportunity to get insights from other people that may not have been further along in the process. And that might impact, maybe there was an issue that could have been resolved, but because it was never asked, it wasn't resolved. And we hear it all the time. By asking earlier, you're able to find issues where they might have had a problem with an interview process or something, or maybe it's a personality deal with the recruiter, and you can save that. If you're not asking and you're just waiting and you're just focused on the people you successfully placed, once again, you're missing out on 95% of insight. And those people had an experience, and those people are going to share that experience. It's just a matter of not whether or not you're aware of it. The worst thing that can happen is a candidate sharing a negative experience with their whole group of friends saying, never work for that company ever. Because let's face it, if you create a bad experience, it's the company's fault. If you create a good experience, Amy's awesome, right? So that one individual creating a poor experience, that brand is being labeled. And if you don't know that that's happening, then it is happening. You're just blind to it because it's in a black box. But yeah, you have a 37% and you have recruiters that have, up to a 79% response rate. So part of it is setting that expectation, saying, I want your feedback. But imagine the impact it would have on your organization if better than 1 out of 3 candidates you work with gave you feedback on the experience, opposed to just focusing on the people you successfully place.
Exactly. And then I'll have time for maybe 1 more, maybe 2 more. We'll see. If we can't get to it now, we will follow up with you after the webinar. Susan, can you talk about expectation for communication with applicants and candidates? As we were talking about, recruiters have a limited time in their day. Is there maybe a standard that Bartech sets for that as a turnaround time that they can expect to hear?
Sure. So that is one thing in terms of outcomes that is outside of our control. However, as Amy was saying earlier, like even if just reaching out to let the person know, like, yes, there is or is not an update, that goes a long way in terms of kind of helping the person understand where they stand with, their job search as it relates to the opportunities that we were helping them with. So I would say for my recommendation would be at least weekly touching base with all of your candidates who are active in the market. I would say at a minimum 1 day per week. Sometimes as things progress, as you got an interview request, that might be like 2 or 3 touches in 1 week. And another thing that we do is at our point of interview, we also introduce our account managers as well. So the person has another resource then that would support them in their interview preparations and, hopefully increase their likelihood of being selected for the position.
And just to add on to that, we used to do every Friday was Fanatical Friday for us. And we made sure that any candidate that was in the process didn't go into the weekend without an update. And sometimes that update is, I don't have an update, but you don't have an update. They don't know you don't have an update. And somebody looking for a job that's excited about it, the last thing you want is for them to go into their weekend wondering what's going on. So I would say at an absolute minimum, make sure you touch base with all of your candidates on a weekly basis. What I learned though, as well as we used to do this, is some candidates don't need that. So I learned to say, hey, how often is it for you would you like to be communicated with? Do you prefer email or text message or a phone call? And so we're all different, right? And you're like, hey, you know what? You don't need to touch me. You let me know when you hear back from the client. I know you're working on my behalf, and that might be a week, 2 weeks, I'm good. And other people are like, look, I've got a lot of things in tow right now. Can you just keep me updated every couple of days? And so I think it's important to kind of judge that. But at a minimum, I agree with you, Susan. You should be following up weekly with anybody in process. They deserve it. They really do. Holly, we are hit up on time.
We
I'm
are
gonna
hitting
just go
time.
ahead. So, hey, real quick recap. First of all, thank you all for joining. And I just want to really hit on each of our 3 panelists or any final key takeaways that they would like to say. I'm going to go ahead and start with the end in mind, which is Logan. Logan, any key recap takeaways that you would like to share?
Oh, amazing experience. Just 10 out of 10 would review again.
Love it. Amy, what about you?
I would have to say, I encourage candidates to leave reviews because it's only going to help us in, their experience and making it better for them. So leave reviews.
Awesome. Susan?
All right. I would say my takeaway is for candidates to just be open to having those more in-depth conversations with the recruiters. They can look out for opportunities on your behalf that meet your interests.
And I'll say, pointing to the candidate community, the world of recruiting is changing. There is more technology and automation that are going in place. There's options to not even talk to a recruiter. And depending on where you are in your journey and the type of role that you have, you're going to be faced with a lot of different experiences. What I would recommend is finding somebody that trusts in you, that you trust in them. Find somebody that you have there, that when things don't go the way you hoped, that you have somebody that you can lean on and trust. And I can tell you that the work we're doing over at Great Recruiters, we're going to make it a lot easier for the candidate communities out there to connect with great recruiters like Amy. But once again, I really value the long-term partnership that we've had with Bartech. I applaud you on being innovative and bringing on a platform that started off as a concept and now has become kind of a household name with the leading staffing firms. And just appreciate everybody who joined us today. If you do have any questions, if you do have any follow-up, there's a QR code. You can go ahead and find us on LinkedIn. But other than that, don't set your expectations low anymore. If you have high expectations, we're going to go ahead and raise the bar. If you're a staffing firm out there and you aren't collecting real-time feedback, take it from Susan and Amy. You are missing out on a ton of opportunity for growth for your organization. And recruiters out there, choose what side you want to be on. Do you want to be part of the industry's poor reputation, or do you want to be part of the future of recruiting being an exceptional industry for everybody? So that's my recap, and I really appreciate, again, everybody joining, and everybody have a great rest of your week. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.